Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to learn listening English with a story. Eleanor's City Routine. Chapter 1, The Architect's Day Begins. The gentle, melodic chime of her alarm, set for a civilized 7 a.m., softly permeated the calm of Eleanor Ainsworth's London flat. Eleanor, a rising architect working in the heart of the city, was a believer in easing into the morning. Years of practice had honed her routine to be both efficient and gentle, a necessary balance against the intensity of her professional life. She reached out from under her warm duvet and touched the snooze button, allowing herself a precious extra 9 minutes of semi-consciousness before the real day began. First, and crucially, came tea. Eleanor was a staunch advocate for the restorative power of a proper English breakfast tea. She padded across her parquet floor to her compact yet well-organized kitchen, the soft wool rug cushioning her bare feet against the morning chill. While the kettle whistled its cheerful tune, she performed a short sequence of yoga stretches, a habit adopted to counteract the inevitable stiffness from hours spent at her architect's desk. These were flowing, mindful movements, designed to awaken her body and center her mind for the day ahead. By the time the comforting aroma of Earl Grey filled the kitchen, Eleanor felt more fully present. She poured the steaming tea into her favorite ceramic mug, adding a splash of milk, a non-negotiable element of her morning ritual. Sipping her tea, she glanced at her tablet, reviewing her digital calendar. Today was a client presentation day, meaning less time in the creative sanctuary of her studio and more time navigating London's intricate public transport system to reach the offices of a potential new client interested in a sustainable office building design. Next on the agenda was breakfast, a simple and nourishing start to the day. Eleanor favored a bowl of porridge with berries and a drizzle of honey, a classic English breakfast that provided sustained energy without feeling heavy. As she ate, she briefly checked the BBC News app, scanning headlines for any major urban planning developments or architectural news both in London and globally. Staying informed was part of her professional ethos, feeding her creativity and ensuring her designs were always forward-thinking. By 7:45 a.m., Eleanor was ready to embrace the London day. She chose a smart professional outfit, tailored trousers, a silk blouse, and a well-cut blazer, paired with comfortable but stylish ankle boots. As an architect, she needed to project confidence and competence, while also being prepared for site visits and meetings across the city. Before leaving, she meticulously organized her work bag, laptop, presentation portfolio, site survey notes, a laser measuring device, and her trusted notebook, a repository for spontaneous design ideas and client meeting notes. Stepping out of her flat, Eleanor was immediately immersed in the characteristic sounds of a London morning. The rumble of buses, the distant sirens, the chatter of pedestrians, and the general hum of a city coming alive. Eleanor took a breath of the crisp London air, a distinct contrast to the warmer, humid air she sometimes encountered on international projects. She pulled out her Oyster card, ready to navigate the underground. Her architectural day in London had officially begun, a meticulously planned routine designed to harness focus and inspiration within the vibrant, demanding, and endlessly stimulating metropolis. Chapter 2, Navigating the City and Client Expectations. Eleanor descended into the cool depths of the London Underground, the familiar scent of damp earth and metallic ozone filling her nostrils. The morning rush hour was in full swing, and the platform was a throng of commuters, a diverse tapestry of London life all heading towards the city center. Eleanor navigated the crowds with practiced ease, her Oyster card ready in hand, her mind already shifting to the day's primary focus, the client presentation. The journey on the tube was a study in urban efficiency. Despite the packed carriage, a quiet, almost unspoken understanding prevailed. Headphones were firmly in place, newspapers rustled discreetly, and conversations were kept to hushed tones. Eleanor used the commute time productively, reviewing her presentation slides on her tablet, mentally rehearsing key points, and anticipating potential client questions. She focused on projecting confidence and clarity, knowing that first impressions were paramount in the competitive world of London architecture. Emerging from the underground at Canary Wharf, Eleanor was greeted by the imposing skyline of London's financial district. Towering glass and steel structures pierced the sky, a testament to modern architectural ambition. The client's offices were located in one of these gleaming skyscrapers, a prestigious address that spoke volumes about their corporate identity and expectations. Upon arrival at the client's reception, Eleanor was greeted by a sleek, minimalist space, all polished surfaces and muted tones. She checked in with the receptionist, a composed woman with an air of quiet efficiency, and was directed to a meeting room on the 30th floor. The panoramic views from the room were breathtaking, stretching across the Thames and encompassing iconic London landmarks. Eleanor allowed herself a brief moment to appreciate the vista before refocusing on the task at hand. The client team, a group of 5 senior executives, entered the room precisely on time. The lead executive, Mr. Harrison, a man with a sharp gaze and an air of seasoned authority, greeted Eleanor with a formal handshake. The meeting commenced with polite introductions, but quickly transitioned to the core purpose: Eleanor's architectural proposal for their new sustainable headquarters. Eleanor launched into her presentation, her voice clear and articulate, her demeanor professional yet engaging. She walked them through her design concept, highlighting the innovative sustainable features, the efficient use of space, and the aesthetic vision that aimed to blend modern functionality with a respect for the surrounding urban environment. She used visual aids effectively, showcasing 3D renderings and detailed floor plans, ensuring her presentation was both informative and visually compelling. The client team listened attentively, their expressions ranging from thoughtful consideration to keen interest. Mr. Harrison posed insightful questions, probing into the practicalities of the sustainable technologies proposed, the projected timeline for construction, and the overall budget implications. Eleanor responded with confidence and precision, drawing upon her detailed research and meticulous planning to address each query thoroughly. The presentation extended beyond the allocated hour, a positive sign indicating the client's engagement. Eleanor welcomed the extended discussion, using the opportunity to further elaborate on her design philosophy and demonstrate her deep understanding of their brief. She emphasized her commitment to creating a building that was not only aesthetically striking, but also environmentally responsible and conducive to employee well-being. As the meeting drew to a close, Mr. Harrison offered a subtle but encouraging smile. "Ms. Ainsworth," he said, his tone measured but appreciative, "this is a very impressive proposal. We will need to discuss internally, of course, but your vision aligns strongly with our company's values. We will be in touch within the week." Eleanor left the client offices feeling a cautious optimism. The presentation had gone well, she had answered their questions effectively, and she sensed a genuine interest in her design. However, in the competitive London architectural landscape, nothing was guaranteed. She knew the waiting game had begun, a period of anticipation and uncertainty before she would learn if her carefully crafted proposal had secured her the prestigious project. Stepping back out into the bustling Canary Wharf district, Eleanor felt a surge of energy despite the intensity of the meeting. The London day was now in full swing, the city's vibrant pulse resonating around her. She hailed a taxi, deciding to return to her studio, ready to immerse herself back into the creative process, while the subtle hum of client expectations lingered in the back of her mind. Chapter 3. Back to the drawing board, literally. The taxi journey back to Eleanor's studio in Shoreditch provided a brief interlude between the high-stakes client presentation and the familiar rhythm of her creative workspace. London's diverse streetscape unfolded outside the window, a mix of modern skyscrapers gradually giving way to the more eclectic, brick-built charm of East London. Eleanor used the time to mentally deconstruct the client meeting, replaying key exchanges, and noting down any follow-up actions that might be required, even before hearing back from Mr. Harrison and his team. She was a meticulous professional, and proactive preparation was ingrained in her work ethic. Her studio was located in a converted warehouse, a space she shared with 2 other freelance creatives, a graphic designer and a textile artist. The open-plan layout fostered a sense of community and collaborative energy, a welcome contrast to the often isolating nature of freelance work. Eleanor's corner of the studio was defined by a large, reclaimed wooden desk, strewn with architectural models in various stages of completion, stacks of technical drawings, and a comforting clutter of design magazines and sketchbooks. Natural light flooded in through the warehouse's expansive windows, illuminating the creative chaos with a soft, diffused glow. Stepping into the studio, Eleanor was immediately enveloped by the familiar, comforting atmosphere. The gentle hum of conversation between her studio mates, the soft background music playing from a shared speaker, and the tangible sense of creative energy in the air. It was her sanctuary, her space to breathe and bring her architectural visions to life. She greeted her studio mates, Liam the graphic designer and Sarah the textile artist, with a brief but friendly exchange, catching up on their morning's progress before settling back into her own work. Despite the lingering anticipation about the client presentation outcome, Eleanor knew she couldn't afford to dwell on it. She had other projects demanding her attention, deadlines looming, and creative momentum to maintain. She decided to shift her focus to a smaller but equally engaging project, the design of a community garden pavilion for a local neighborhood association. It was a pro bono project, a way for her to give back to the community and exercise a different kind of creative muscle, one less constrained by commercial pressures and corporate expectations. Eleanor spread out the site plans for the community garden on her desk, her mind already buzzing with ideas. She envisioned a pavilion that was both functional and aesthetically pleasing, a welcoming space for community gatherings, workshops, and quiet contemplation within the urban green space. She started sketching in her notebook, letting her ideas flow freely, exploring different forms, materials, and spatial configurations. She considered using reclaimed timber and incorporating green roof elements, aligning with the sustainable principles that underpinned all her designs. As she sketched, Liam, her graphic designer studio mate, approached her desk, a slightly furrowed brow on his face. "Elle," he began, using his usual abbreviation of her name, "are you having trouble with the printer again? It's jammed, and I can't seem to clear it." Eleanor sighed inwardly. The temperamental shared printer was a recurring source of minor studio disruptions. "Let me take a look," she said, pushing back her chair and abandoning her sketches for a moment. Collaborative problem-solving was also part of the studio dynamic. Together, they wrestled with the recalcitrant printer, eventually diagnosing a paper jam deep within its mechanisms. It took a few minutes of careful maneuvering and shared frustration, but they finally managed to clear the jam and coax the printer back to life. It was a small, slightly irritating interruption, but also a welcome break from the intense concentration of architectural design. Returning to her desk, Eleanor felt a renewed sense of focus. The brief printer-related detour had cleared her head, allowing her to approach her pavilion design with fresh eyes. She picked up her pen again, the blank page now feeling less daunting, more like a canvas waiting to be filled with architectural possibilities. The London day outside continued its busy rhythm, but within her studio corner, Eleanor was immersed in her own creative world, sketching, designing, and building architectural visions, one line at a time, regardless of client outcomes or printer malfunctions. Chapter 4: Lunch Break and Design Breakthroughs. The morning in the studio unfolded with a productive hum. Liam, the graphic designer, was engrossed in creating a vibrant branding package for a new vegan cafe, his desk a colorful explosion of mood boards and digital mock-ups. Sarah, the textile artist, was meticulously hand-dyeing lengths of silk, the rich hues of indigo and ochre emanating from steaming vats in a corner of the studio designated for messy creative processes. Eleanor, meanwhile, was deeply immersed in her pavilion design, the initial freehand sketches evolving into more detailed technical drawings on her drafting tablet. By lunchtime, a comfortable quiet had settled over the studio, a natural pause in the creative flow. The aroma of Sarah's homemade lentil soup, warming on a small portable stove in the communal kitchen area, began to permeate the air, a signal that it was time for a break. The three studio mates often shared lunch together, a welcome opportunity to step away from their individual projects and reconnect. Eleanor joined Liam and Sarah in the kitchen, the small space momentarily feeling quite full with the three of them, and the comforting scent of simmering lentils. Liam was animatedly describing a challenging client feedback session, punctuated by Sarah's empathetic nods and Eleanor's occasional wry comment. The lunchtime conversations were often a mix of work-related anecdotes, creative industry gossip, and general life updates, a microcosm of London's vibrant, interconnected creative community. Over steaming bowls of soup and crusty bread, the conversation shifted to Eleanor's morning presentation. "So how did it go with the corporate giants?" Liam asked, his eyebrows raised in mock seriousness. "Did they appreciate your sustainable vision, or were they just fixated on the bottom line?" Eleanor chuckled. "It's hard to tell definitively, but I think it went reasonably well," she replied, taking a spoonful of soup. "They asked good questions, seemed engaged with the sustainability aspects, and the meeting ran over time, which is usually a positive sign." She consciously tempered her optimism, knowing the unpredictable nature of client decisions. Sarah, ever the pragmatist, offered her perspective. "Don't get your hopes up too high just yet," she cautioned gently. "Corporate clients can be fickle, but even if this one doesn't pan out, the presentation itself is valuable experience, and you've got a fantastic design portfolio building up." Eleanor appreciated Sarah's grounded advice. "You're right, of course," she agreed. "Regardless of the outcome, I'm proud of the proposal. And honestly," she added, gesturing towards her desk laden with pavilion sketches, "I'm finding myself more creatively energized by this community garden project right now anyway." The conversation then naturally segued into the community garden pavilion, with Liam and Sarah offering insightful suggestions and alternative perspectives on Eleanor's initial design ideas. Liam, with his graphic design background, offered advice on visual accessibility and signage within the pavilion space. Sarah, with her textile artist's eye for texture and material, suggested incorporating natural, locally sourced materials and considering the integration of climbing plants and green walls to further enhance the pavilion's connection to the garden environment. These informal lunchtime brainstorming sessions were an invaluable aspect of the studio dynamic. The cross-pollination of ideas from different creative disciplines often sparked unexpected breakthroughs and enriched each individual's work. Eleanor listened attentively to Liam and Sarah's suggestions, her mind already weaving their feedback into her evolving pavilion design. Lunch break concluded, and the studio settled back into its afternoon rhythm. Fueled by soup and stimulating conversation, Eleanor returned to her desk, her sketchbook now open at a fresh page. Inspired by Sarah's material suggestions, she started to explore incorporating natural timber cladding and a living roof into the pavilion design, sketching out new iterations, refining proportions, and considering the play of light and shadow within the structure. As she worked, a new design direction began to emerge, a more organic, nature-integrated concept that felt both aesthetically compelling and deeply resonant with the community garden's ethos. The afternoon sun streamed through the warehouse windows, illuminating Eleanor's desk as the pavilion design, sparked by lunchtime conversation and fueled by creative energy, began to take on a life of its own. Chapter 5: Seeds of Success in City Skylines. The week that followed was a blend of focused studio work and quiet anticipation. Eleanor continued to refine the community garden pavilion design, incorporating Liam and Sarah's suggestions and allowing the project to evolve organically. She also diligently followed up on the corporate headquarters presentation, sending a polite thank you note to Mr. Harrison and his team and subtly reiterating her enthusiasm for the project. The waiting game, however, was still in play, and Eleanor consciously channeled her energy back into the tangible creativity of her studio work, finding solace in the familiar rhythm of design and creation. One afternoon, as Eleanor was meticulously adjusting the digital model of the pavilion, her phone buzzed with an incoming call. The caller ID displayed Harrison Corp. Her heart skipped a beat. She took a deep breath and answered the call, her voice composed and professional. "Eleanor Ainsworth speaking," she said, her tone measured. "Ms. Ainsworth, good afternoon. This is Mr. Harrison from Harrison Corp., a familiar voice replied. "I'm calling with some good news. Following our internal discussions, we are delighted to inform you that we have decided to proceed with your architectural proposal for our new headquarters." A wave of relief and exhilaration washed over Eleanor, so potent it almost made her lightheaded. "Mr. Harrison, that's wonderful news," she managed to say, a genuine smile spreading across her face. "Thank you so much for your confidence in my vision." Mr. Harrison continued, outlining the next steps: contract negotiations, project timelines, and the initial kickoff meeting. Eleanor listened attentively, her mind already racing with practicalities and possibilities. This was a significant project, a career-defining opportunity, and she was ready to embrace the challenge. As she hung up the phone, Liam and Sarah looked up from their desks, sensing the shift in Eleanor's demeanor. "Good news?" Liam asked, his eyes twinkling with anticipation. Eleanor beamed, unable to contain her excitement. "Good news indeed," she exclaimed. "Harrison Corp just called. We got the headquarters project." A cheer erupted from the studio corner. Liam and Sarah rushed over to congratulate her, their shared studio space momentarily transforming into a celebratory zone. There were high fives, enthusiastic exclamations, and a spontaneous round of celebratory tea brewing in the communal kitchen. Amidst the studio jubilation, Eleanor received another email notification. This time, it was from the Neighborhood Association regarding the Community Garden Pavilion. They had reviewed her revised design proposal, incorporating the natural materials and green roof elements, and were not only delighted, but eager to move forward with the project. Funding had been secured, and they were ready to schedule a community consultation meeting to finalize the details and set a construction timeline. Eleanor stared at the email, a profound sense of satisfaction settling within her. In the space of an hour, she had received confirmation of both a major professional triumph and a deeply meaningful community project moving forward. It felt like a validation of her hard work, her creative vision, and her commitment to both large-scale architectural ambition and grassroots community engagement. Later that evening, as the London skyline twinkled outside her studio window, Eleanor stayed behind after Liam and Sarah had left, wanting to savor a quiet moment of reflection amidst the day's exhilarating news. She looked around her studio corner, at the architectural models, the sketches, the tangible evidence of her creative journey. She had come to London with ambition and a portfolio, and through dedication, collaboration, and a passion for her craft, she was building a thriving career, one design at a time. She opened her sketchbook, the page falling open to her latest pavilion sketches. She picked up her pen, not to sketch new ideas, but to simply appreciate the lines and forms that had emerged from her creative process. The Community Garden Pavilion, a small-scale project in the grand scheme of London architecture, felt just as significant as the towering corporate headquarters. Both projects represented different facets of her architectural ethos: sustainability, community, and the power of design to shape spaces and lives in meaningful ways. As the city lights twinkled outside, Eleanor smiled, a quiet, confident smile that reflected not just professional success, but a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment. Her London architectural journey was well underway, a journey paved with hard work, creative passion, and the quiet satisfaction of seeing her visions take shape against the backdrop of the vibrant, ever-evolving city skyline. Hope you enjoyed the story. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more stories like this. Thank you.